Hi, fourth grade. This is Mrs. Myers bringing to you our very first book study on our YouTube channel. So get comfy, grab a blanket. I'm here by the fireplace. I have my blanket. I'm getting comfortable. And so just listen and relax. Okay, so this is a story about Lee, a boy who was writing to his favorite author. So we're gonna read, and it's like daily entries, like a journal almost, that he's writing through, okay? All right, so this is by Beverly Cleary, and it's called Dear Mr. Henshaw. May 12th. Dear Mr. Henshaw, my teacher read your book about the dog to our class. It was funny. We licked it. Your friend, Lee Botts. I'm a boy. December 3rd. Dear Mr. Henshaw, I am the boy who wrote to you last year when I was in the 2nd grade. Maybe you didn't get my letter. This year, I read the book I wrote to you about called Ways to Amuse a Dog. It is the first thick book with chapters that I have read. The boy's father said city dogs were bored, so Joe could not keep the dog unless he could think up 7 ways to amuse it. I have a black dog. His name is Bandit. He's a nice dog. If you answer, I get to put your letter on the bulletin board. My teacher taught me a trick about friend. The I goes before E so that at the end it will spell end, E-N-D. Keep in touch. Your friend, Lee Botts. November 13th. Dear Mr. Henshaw, I am now in the 4th grade. I made a diorama of ways to amuse a dog, the book I wrote to you about 2 times before. Now our teacher is making us write to authors for book week. I got your answer to my letter last year, but it was only handwritten. I got your answer to my letter last year, but it was only printed. Please, would you write to me in your own handwriting? I am a great enjoyer of your books. My favorite character in the book was Joe's dad because he didn't get mad when Joe amused his dog by playing a tape of a lady singing, and his dog sat and howled like he was singing too. Ow! Bandit does the same thing when he hears singing. Your best reader, Lee Botts. December 2nd. Dear Mr. Henshaw, I got to thinking about ways to amuse a dog. When Joe took his dog to the park and taught him to slide down the slide, wouldn't some grown-up come along and say he couldn't let his dog use the slide? Around here, grown-ups, who are mostly real old with cats, get mad if dogs aren't on leashes every minute. I hate living in a mobile home park. I saw your picture on the back of the book. When I grow up, I want to be a famous book writer with a beard, just like you. I am sending you my picture. It is last year's picture. My hair is longer now. With all the millions of kids in the United States, how would you know who I am if I didn't send you my picture? Your favorite reader, Lee Botts. Enclosure is a picture of me. We are studying business letters. There he is. October 2nd. Dear Mr. Henshaw, I am in the 5th grade now. You might like to know that I gave a book report on ways to amuse a dog. The class liked it. I got an A-. The minus was because the teacher said I didn't stand on both of my feet. Sincerely, Lee Botts. November 7th. Dear Mr. Henshaw, I got your letter and did what you said. I read a different book by you. I read Moose on Toast. I liked it almost as much as Ways to Amuse a Dog. It was really funny the way the boy's mother tried to think up of ways to cook the moose meat that they had in their freezer. 1,000 pounds is a lot of moose. Moose burgers, moose stew, and moose meatloaf don't sound too bad. Maybe moose mincemeat pie would be okay, because with all the raisins and junk, you wouldn't know you were eating moose. Creamed chipped moose on toast. Yuck! I didn't think the boy's father should have shot the moose, but I guess there are plenty of moose up there in Alaska, and maybe they needed it for food. If my dad shot a moose, I would feed the tough parts to my dog Bandit. Your #1 fan, Lee Botts. September 20th. Dear Mr. Henshaw, this year I am in the 6th grade, in a new school and in a different town. Our teacher is making us do author reports to improve our writing skills. So of course, I thought of you. Please answer the following questions. 1. How many books have you written? 2. Is Boyd Henshaw your real name or is it fake? 3. Why do you write books for children? 4. Where do you get your ideas? 5. Do you have any kids? 6. What is your favorite book that you wrote? 7. Do you like to write books? 8. What is the title of your next book? 9. What is your favorite animal? 10. Please give me some tips on how to write a book. This is important to me. I really want to know so I can get to be a famous author and write books exactly like yours. Please send me a list of your books that you wrote, an autographed picture, and a bookmark. I need your answer by next Friday. This is urgent. Sincerely, Lee Botts. Deliver, de letter, de sooner, de better, de later, de letter, de matter, I get her. November 15th. Dear Mr. Henshaw, at first I was pretty upset when I didn't get an answer to my letter in time for my report, but I worked it out okay. I read what it said about you on the back of Ways to Amuse a Dog and wrote real big on every other line, so I filled up the paper. On the book, it said you lived in Seattle, so I didn't know you had moved to Alaska, although I should have guessed from Moose on Toast. When your letter finally came, I didn't want to read it to the class because I didn't think Miss Martinez would like silly answers, like your real name is messing around, and you don't have kids because you don't raise goats. She said I had to read it. The class laughed and Miss Martinez smiled, but she didn't smile when I came to the part about your favorite animal being a purple monster who ate children, who sent authors long lists of questions for reports instead of learning to use the library. Your writing tips were okay. I could tell you meant what you said. Don't worry. When I write something, I won't send it to you. I understand how busy you are with your own books. I hid the second page of your letter from Miss Martinez. That list of questions you sent for me to answer really made me mad. Nobody else's author put a list of questions to be answered, and I don't think it's fair to make me do more work when I already had to write a report. Anyway, thank you for answering my questions. Some kids didn't get any answers at all, which made them mad. And one girl almost cried. She was so afraid she would get a bad grade. One boy got a letter from an author who sounded real excited about getting a letter and wrote such a long answer the boy had to write a long report. He guessed nobody ever wrote to that author before, and he sure wouldn't again. About 10 kids wrote to the same author who wrote one answer to all of them. There was a big argument about who got to keep it until Miss Martinez took the letter to the office and made copies. About those questions you sent me, I'm not going to answer them, and you can't make me. You are not my teacher. Yours truly, Lee Botts. P.S. When I asked you what the title of your next book was going to be, you said, "Who knows?" Did you mean that was the title? Or you don't know what the title will be? And do you really write books because you have read every book in the library and because writing beats mowing the lawn or shoveling snow? 4th grade, that's where we're going to stop today. We will pick up again tomorrow, but before we continue, I do have some questions for you. I'd like you to try to see if you can answer these. You can answer them on a piece of paper. You can send me a picture of your answers, okay? So I'm not sure if you can see this. I hope you can. So the first question is, why does Lee choose to write to Mr. Henshaw? Number 2 says, what made Lee so mad? Number 3 says, what 5 questions would you ask your favorite author? My favorite author is Eve Bunting. So one of the questions I might ask her might be, what inspires all of your different animals in your books? She has so many different really cool animals in her books. Number 4, what is your opinion of Lee? So what do you think of Lee? And why do you think that? Is there something that happened in the book that made you think that? And our last question is, why do you think Lee wants to be an author like Mr. Henshaw? Why do you think he wants to be an author like him? So these are the 5 questions that I'd like you to try to answer to go along with our reading for today. Again, you can write them on a piece of paper. You can send me a screenshot of it. You can send it through email, through the Remind. You can upload it to our YouTube channel, however you want to do that. And tomorrow we'll continue reading our next section of Dear Mr. Henshaw. So thanks for joining and watching today, and I will see you tomorrow.